Okay, I just had to make sure everything was on, make sure we are good to go, make sure I can see. It's early. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy birthday to me. It's my birthday. So you'd be surprised that I'd be doing this, right? Well, I love the market. And I've been doing this on Sunday mornings now, so let's get into it. Let me double check and make sure everything is good. Okay. We are good. Alrighty, so we have a lot to get into today. A lot. We have a new quarter. We have a new month. We have time frame continuity that's going to be completely and totally out of whack. Because the new quarter and the new month are going to be the same lines until we get a new month. So we can still play it and do the uncoupling next week, because by then we'll have a new week. But just know the time frame continuity is going to be a little funky for a while. But yeah, we have a lot to get into. Let me get back to the beginning. All right, so the economic calendar this week. We literally just avoided a government shutdown. And if the government had shut down, this data may not have come out or would have been delayed. I'm not sure how that what that would have done, because I wasn't trading around the last shutdown, and that was also during Trump's market. So, but it looks like we avoided it. So we should still have all this data that we have coming out this week. Okay, so on Monday, we have this manufacturing PMI already. And the feds are outside. Y'all, the feds are outside all week long. All week. Starting on Monday. You got Powell with a speech, Harker with a speech, Barr with a speech, Williams. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm not quite sure. I would look at it a little bit more if you're really interested, but just know that you have data and Fed speaking on Monday. On Tuesday, we have the JOLTS jobs opening. And then that's it for Tuesday. Wednesday, you have this global PMI and this ISM services PMI, which we've had PMI the last few weeks. I'm not the data expert here, but it's a lot of PMIs going on. And then again, Fed speech. Okay, there's some oil data here. Another Fed speech on Wednesday. Thursday morning, we have our regular job openings, job claims, but then you have imports and exports, if that does anything. And then you also have another speech at 9 o'clock on Thursday. Then you got another one at 11:30. They're speaking all this week. I would have to do a little more research to try to understand what exactly they're speaking about, but they're definitely speaking. And then on Friday, we have non-farm payrolls. That may be... I know this thing didn't... Why? Am I reconnected? I guess I'm reconnected. Yeah, I am. Okay. I have to... My mama's calling me, y'all. Probably to wish me happy birthday. But yeah, I think we're back good. Yes, looks like we are. I've been having the most service issues. But just wanted to remind you guys that since we have the new quarter started, go to Frank's comprehensive scanner and look through this and make your watch list. Remember, I did a video, excuse me, I don't know why I'm yawning, a video on how you can make watch lists for these, but I have a pretty long list for my quarter. So speaking of that, what I did was I have my quarter here and my monthly here, and you can see for my quarter I have like 40 different tickers, and then the monthly 16. But I know that the quarter is going to need some time to set up, so it's just something that we're going to continue to watch. And then the monthly, again, we have to see what happens. This is a real strong week of let them open. because as you're going to see on some of these charts, you'll see that the quarter looks bearish, the month looks bearish, the week is at a point where it could definitely reverse, or it could have been TTO. We can have a relief pop, or it can, completely reverse from there. So let's get into it. Okay, so we have to look at everything on the quarter now and on the month, since we now have a new quarter. The VIX has been kind of stuck in this area for a while, but as you can see, for the quarter we were actually green. So if the VIX can do a 2 down 2 up reversal, keep going, so that's $21, then we may see some more red in the market. Now keep in mind, for seasonality, September is seasonally bearish. October is usually the turning point. However, before it turns, it can definitely make some more lows. We have lots of room to go, to fall, let me say. So yeah, and then the VIX, it has room to still continue up and not even completely break this downtrend that it's in on the month. Kind of draw it there, do it right there, change it to my monthly, but that's the downtrend on the month. So yes, it can still pop on this monthly. It could do a 3-2 up, and then maybe even pop up here. I just woke up, y'all. I don't understand why I'm yawning, I'm so sorry. And it would still stick to this monthly downtrend that it's been in. So watching the VIX to see, what it does. Almost an evening star here on the week, but it's not really an uptrend, so I wouldn't really count that too much. But the 2 up, 2 down is possible on the week if we were to see some green activity. Okay, looking at the dollar has finally pushed through this range that it was in, and we will see that we saw that, or have been seeing that on the weekly. It's been going straight up. That's one of those ones where you normally be like, stocks don't go straight up, the dollar is going straight up. Now granted, it has hit the top of my broadening formation, so now it's key to see what it does, because basically it was flagging here and it broke out. It broke out. Sorry, my mama was texting me. It broke out and it hit this. So looking at it on the weekly though, you see, look at that, straight up. You don't normally see that. So it may come down just as hard, but it would at least need to retrace probably 50% of this. So I would fib it. And at 103.21, which is probably around these EMAs, is where I would think that it would reverse, well, correct to, if it has some correction. It kind of needs that though. Even if it wanted to continue this uptrend and broaden that, it needs to do some correction and then continue, because this right here is crazy. That's crazy. All right, looking at NASDAQ. These must be my weekly lines. I'm supposed to have those there. On the quarter, as you can see, this is the example of what I was talking about. And you'll see on these charts. By the way, I kind of fixed my little face, so y'all let me know if this is working, because I think before, like, I was super dark. Now you can't see my background, which that is okay, but you can see me, so whatever. Anyway, so you have this somewhat shooter on the quarter, right? Bearish quarter after having 2 green quarters. So we could definitely have 2 red quarters, right? So for the quarter, if we break 14,425, I will be looking for 12,797. Maybe even 13,144, which is about the halfway point of this run right here. Okay, just looking for that correction. So when I say that we have more to correct, we have more to correct. And you can see on the quarter, we are definitely bearish. On the monthly, we are bearish. And then on the weekly, you can kind of see, thought I had it drawn here, but I did not. Do it here. It's wrong. Right there. Okay, so you'll see this a lot on the weekly. Even though we are bearish on the month and the quarter, you'll see a lot of them kind of bounced either off an EMA or off the trend line from the run that it had since October, basically. Okay, and this is also what I was thinking. Like if you look back here, September, October, it bottomed out in October. Okay, early part of October. Now granted, we were still bearish for the beginning of October, but then it bottomed out there, made a higher low here, and took off from there. So if seasonality tracks, I am looking for the same thing. So like I said, we're still bearish. We may, drop for another week or two, and then we may start seeing a turn in the markets. There's a few things that you can look for. The same way of how we looked to make sure that it was turning to the bearish side, you're going to look the same way to make sure it's turning to the bullish side before you start going long and buying the dip, okay? Same thing with the Dow. The Dow is not doing anything. It is stuck in a range. It finally broke through, took these people out up here, hit the top of the broad formation, and came back in. So it did not do an outside bar. So basically just looking to see if it will finish the outside bar next quarter, which it can do that really easily and still recover. But looking at it on the week, you got your head here and we're in the shoulder area. So interesting to see what it does. But again, Dow isn't doing much of anything. You see here this range between 354 to about 330. And I've been saying this, I want to say, probably all year. We washed below, we washed above, washed below, right back there. Sort of wash above, right back here. So the Dow isn't really doing much. Oh, no, go back. IWM. So IWM looks a lot like the rest of them, except on the quarterly we have a rev strat here. Now what I want you to keep in mind is we know that this is kind of a chop area for IWM. So if it can blow through there, that would be great. So if it does this 1-2 up, 2 down rev strat, we're going to target this 167. And then the bottom of this broadening formation, probably about 162. So that's what you can look for with IWM. It's still in this range, but it's one of those stocks where when you catch it on a good move, you can catch a good move. So again, look at this upwards trend line and how we got close to it and somewhat bounced off of it. These are the lines I want you to draw to see if these, if they continue and break through, or if they're supported here and reverse from here, or even if it chops here for a while. And before it makes this next move, because you got to remember that we have had some 3 straight weeks of selling pressure. So we may have to do an inside week to base a little while before we do our next move. Okay, looking at IWM on the daily as well, you see now we know that the bears are in control. Why? Because there's one thing I always tell y'all. If we're above the 200, we're bullish. If we're below it, we're bearish. IWM is clearly below the 200, so we're definitely bearish. We're definitely knowing that the bears are in control. So whenever you have your pops, just be ready to short the rip. We are in that mode as long as we are under this 200 at 184. All right. So again, this will be the strong support that the bulls will need to defend. This 173, 172 area. If not, then we're heading towards that 167. Okay, looking at the Dow I forgot to look at these on the 200. On the daily. That's another thing I want to point out. Now, again, it could do this right here because if seasonality tracks and we just are bearish for a little while, we may chop right here and then we reverse. Then we could be looking at a move like this, where it kind of consolidated a little bit up below the 200 and then it boomed from there. That's where we are here. We're right below it, although the 8 has crossed the 200, which is a very, very bearish signal. But we're here. So we're at that key battleground point And we need to see who's going to keep control. Are the bears going to keep control? Are the bulls going to snatch it and take control from here, or what? But I would not be surprised if we chopped here for a little while before we made our next move. Looking at NASDAQ, we're still above the 200 there, so all good there. All right, going to the Qs. The Qs is another one that it looks just like the NASDAQ. So you have your shooter here on the quarter. So looking for a break of 352, and on the quarter a 310 target. Looking at it on the monthly, it's the same thing. When you look at it on the weekly, I've drawn that upwards trend line. QQQ has not quite hit it yet. Okay, so that upwards trend line is going to be down at around 330. So that's where we could still possibly go. If you fib this run, we're at the 23.6. That's where it bounced at. So it could still go all the way 50% to where the trend line is at that 321, which would also trigger the quarter down, and then we may continue down. This is on the weekly an evening star. So although we just had those, the breakdown, we could see a small relief pop up to about 369. Also, if you notice, it's still in the shoulder area, just barely broke below, but the shoulder area would be valid really all the way up until 377 if it wants to pop because of this candle right here. Looking at it on the daily, we have not reached my 200 target yet, which is at 341. So I'm still looking for that, and then we might go for this gap here at this 332. So those are things to keep in mind. We're still in this shoulder area. It did not quite fill this gap from the other day, so that should be your first target to the upside. And then possibly this 30 at 366. Otherwise, you had that pop and it immediately rejected this 8. So this may be a decent play for Monday, where you got a 2 up, 2 down reversal, and it will continue to trend. This also is could be doing a mini head, and this would be a shoulder. So you got your shoulder, you got your head. It could pop up here, fill this gap, continue to make a head, make a shoulder, and then we drop. So that's essentially what I'm looking for. Consequently, like I said, we have an evening star on the week, morning star, sorry. So knowing that we did this TTO right here, we took these people out here and reversed, we could also double bottom and go to the upside. So there are a couple ways this can go. I think that you should just be careful, especially let them open on Monday and let things kind of iron out to really see who's in control. Good morning, Richard. Alrighty, so SPY. So SPY looks exactly like the Qs. Hold on, y'all. Okay, so SPY looks exactly like the Qs, where we have a shooter on the quarter and a failed 2 up. So basically this triggered the outside bar, but it did not finish. And what is it? Something I always tell you, if it doesn't finish, it may finish the next time frame. It's really funny. I'm about to make an outside bar video because there's some issues going on with the outside bar and indicators. And we really need to stress that Sarah's 50% rule, which yes, she made up. She coined the phrase. Yes, she may not be the only person that knows it, but that's who I learned it from, and I'm going to give all her props to it. She made it, and we've been talking about that for a long time, but apparently people are trying to act like it's this new thing when we've been talking about the outside bar for over a year. So, anyway, like I said, since it didn't finish, we're looking for it to a break of about 422. 420. I really think that 420 is going to be a very strong magnet for a while. But if we can lose it, then we can make our way down to this 401.70, really just 400. Because remember, 400 has been a magnet before. 400, 420, 440, those are the magnet areas. But that's what I'm expecting. And we can still do that. Again, like you can see here, we have plenty of room to go down. Yeah, we've been having some selling, but remember, for half the year we were going like not straight up, but we were going up. So it's about time. But when you look at it on the monthly, there's no actionable signals here. Another reason why I said be careful. However, you do have these evening stars on the week. So this is what I was saying. It's a little conflicting. I was saying this in the Discord. When you look at the quarter charts, they look bearish. You got your shooters on your quarter. You know we have plenty of room to fall. You know that we need some corrective activity. We've had some though. So keeping that in mind, when you look at this on the weekly, SPY bounced perfectly off of this trend line from these October lows. I mean, absolutely perfectly. Does not mean it can't lose it, but it definitely bounced there. So if it does a 2 down, 2 up, and it breaks over 433, you can look for the run up to about 443, okay? And then we will still be in this, well, no, this is not really, because we had a shoulder there. We had a shoulder there, and it kind of fell. So there's not really one there, but here on the daily, it may do the same thing as the Qs. Okay, so it would need to take out this 436, maybe even fill this gap and make another head, the shoulder area, before it loses. So it may do that, or it could still just 2 up, 2 down and lose it. We're right at the 200 though. So from back here, I was telling you guys to wait for a turn, look for a turn, and then we would target the 200. We're there. So at this point, I told you this is where you need to kind of have a neutral bias, only because the bulls can save it from here, knowing that we are above the 200. But if we lose it, then the bears will keep control. The whole structure here looks bearish to me, but just knowing that we have that evening star, knowing where we are, I'm cautious for either side. I would say I'm probably about 70% bearish though. All right, so that's SPY. Apple looks about the same. If it can finish this 2 up, 2 down, looking for 160 on the week. It had our double inside week, and we did go to the downside, but it wasn't as strong as we kind of really hoped. But that's because of this 200 here. It got saved. So will it rev strat on the week? Not quite sure. We'd have to wait and see. But it is also at its 200. So we are at these critical moments. Now, one thing I want you to notice is we washed below, came back above, closed right at it. So this will be critical, okay? Remember, this was a shoulder, this was a head, this was a shoulder. It somewhat lost it. It still could have plenty of room to the downside, okay? We basically filled this gap here, though. So we don't have to target any more gaps to the left for now, anyway. But yeah, again, a lot of these charts may hang out here around this 200 before it makes its next move. And that next move could go either way. The first week of October, probably even the first 2 weeks, could be somewhat bearish and or choppy before we decide which direction we're going to go. And then Microsoft, you got the same thing, the shooter on the quarter. Not really a actionable signal on the month. However, you do have this outside month. So one thing we know with outside months is you can play it as a 3-2, because basically it took out both sides. So now you want to see if it's going to broaden the broadening formation that it just made. So if it does a 3-2 down, then that would be great. We can get to that 303. Okay, and looking at it on the weekly, you see we still do have room to both the 200, which is at 305 in the bottom of this broadening formation, and then 294 is around the bottom of, the bottom of this trend line. Okay, Microsoft still has its head and shoulders going on here though, so just know that this also is a TTO and a possible evening star. So again, this could have a relief pop if it breaks above 320 and go to about 328. We could definitely have that relief pop, which would make a new shoulder. So we'll have a shoulder here, head, and we can make a new shoulder before we continue down. So just the possibilities. All right, keep going. to our sectors. So looking at XLY, this looks a lot, basically this would be like your meta, or it's meta XLC. I'm forgetting right now. XLY is consumer, no, it's like your meta, your Amazon, things like that, which we didn't actually look at. But look, that's another one. I didn't put this on this list because we don't normally go through Amazon, but shooter on the quarter there. Tesla does not have a shooter, so it's not really an actionable signal. And Meta has been going up for 3 straight quarters. This thing, it needs to die. Okay, it needs to die. It may just even do the sideways thing. And then we have so many targets to take out there. All right, so many targets to take out. Okay, back to the sectors. We were at XLY again, shooter on the quarter, possible 3, 2. So some of these quarter ones, it may take a while to set up, but then you have some of them like this where they can trigger within the first week or so. So 157 will be the trigger there. So if it does a 3, 2 down on the month, that will trigger the quarter. Okay, but again, you do have this evening star, morning star. I keep calling them evening star because that's my favorite. You have this morning star possible here, so it could definitely do a 2 down, 2 up, and even if it comes to just halfway up, you can catch 166 or to 171. So keep that in mind. That is the only actionable signal that you have on these weeklies, where they're dojis, and because they gap down, it formed a morning star pattern. So if it does a 2 down, 2 up reversal, you can be pretty strong. You can have multiple confluence. You got the 2 down, 2 up strat signal, and you know the morning star pattern is a bullish pattern. So but we will not stay bullish until we know, first of all, we need to start making higher lows before we know that we are bullish again. Okay, looking at it on the daily, it's right at the daily, just like the rest of the things. So again, you know, this could pop up and give us a new head, or we can lose it, or we can chop right here around this 200 before we make our next move. So those are the things that you want to look for. XLK technology, this more looks a lot like Tesla. We don't really have a shooter here, but it's a red 2 up. So 2 up, 2 down, 143 possible. No actionable signal on the monthly or the weekly, except you do somewhat have this morning star. So I want y'all to be aware of that. We have our head and shoulders on the week, but we have a morning star after having 4 weeks, 4 red weeks. We may need to see 1 green one before we continue, or this could be our turning point. Excuse me. Alrighty, XLF is one of my favorites. Now, y'all know I've become, my first favorite pattern is the outside bar. My second is the rev strat. Third is the inside bar. And the last 2 switch because the rev strat just gives us stronger moves if it really plays out. You got a beautiful shooter here on XLF. And then you have your 1, 2, 2 rev strat. So looking for 30, 42 here. And XLF, a lot of your banks are going to have these nice setups that I like, that can give you these strong moves. And so I'm really bearish on banks, y'all. Really think they're about to fall. And you can see we're kind of bear flagging here on the monthly, so it's just looking to fall from there. No actionable signal here on the week, but when you look at it on the daily, we are under our 200. So I will be looking at this as a resistance level, and looking for more downside. You got gaps to fill here, and if you look at something like GS, just one of my favorite setups here, you got your rev strat on the monthly, on the quarter. You got a double inside month, and you got a rev strat on the 2 week that it almost finished. So it's giving all of the signs of, yeah, we want to die. You got your bear flag here. It's a big old bear flag. like a big old bear flag. I could have sworn I drew this out. I guess I didn't. Look at that. And y'all, Meta just did the same thing. Except what Meta did is it kind of came up, kind of broke a little bit, fake people out, and then it all the way down. But then after it did that, it and came back. It's kind of crazy. But either way, I am looking for banks to have this to be bearish. There you go with oh, I typed the wrong thing. Oh no, that's right. I didn't want to look at JPM. JPM, same thing. And then you have your shooter on the quarter, and then MS is another one. Well, you got your shooter on the quarter and possible continuation to the downside. All right, so keep your eye on banks. XLC, not quite a red shooter, but a shooter nonetheless. So not quite an inside month. It barely took them out, but it closed pretty bearish. And then we also have that morning star on the week, but still in our head and shoulders. So this could even be a new head shoulder here. It could pop up to about 67, 66. As long as we stayed above that, we would be good. And it could possibly have double bottom there. So this could go either way. Again, you gotta let them open, let them uncouple, all of that. Let them fight it out before you decide, you know, what's gonna happen. Energy. So we knew from the previous quarter, that we had double inside quarters. Now, granted, energy had such a great year last year. We knew that this year was going to be inside. It's still inside. However, that inside break is at 95.03. Okay. Oil is in the news a lot lately, I guess because of the price of oil. So we could definitely see more upside. The charts aren't necessarily saying it. On the monthly here, you kind of have an evening star. Now, I was telling you all about the morning star, where you have a gap down and it ends as a doji. This is a gap up and it ended as almost a gravestone doji shooter. So you would need to see it break this 89, and then it may come back down to the 85, but it's just right back in this chop area inside here. Okay, so keep your eye on energy, because if it moves to the upside, it may still be good. But as you can see, we've kept this trend line going for the most part. So it's in an uptrend. As long as that keeps going, we will keep playing it. However, when you do look at it, I think it's on the weekly, or I was looking at CL, where it had hit the top of the Broadner formation. No, it's not here. Because CL is looking for the most part pretty bearish, and that's the futures oil. So if this inside shooter, although green, does move to the downside, then we may see some downside, because that could trigger, this could be a head here. We may need to make a shoulder. The shoulder would have to stay under this 90.49. Then we could come down and at least test the bottom of this trend line here before moving up. And then if it did that, you know, on the quarter, we do have a rev strat setup here. It would need to break 78, 57, of course, but then we may see it come down to the 75, 51, and then that monthly evening star would go into effect. So what it was, though, by the way, is CL hit the top of my Broadner formation. So that's why I'm somewhat bearish on oil, because it hit the top of my Broadner formation and then it struggled and it died. So I have to see where it goes. But yeah. Good morning, TF. Capitulation. I just had to say it. All right. XLU. So this double inside quarter drop was just absolutely beautiful. There is no actionable signal here. It's just red. It's red. It's red. It's been going. If you caught it, congratulations. But for the most part, it's red. It's been under our 200. So If anything, if you were looking for a play here, because it's dropped so far, I would wait for it to come back up and test these EMAs like how you see it does here. For the most part, at least test the 8, possibly the 30 before you get in for more downside. But the bears are clearly in control for utilities. XLI Industrials, we have a fresh TTO on the quarter and came back in, triggered the outside and did not finish. So looking to see that finish next quarter to this 96.58. No actionable signal on the month and the week again. Now y'all seeing the pattern here. You see the pattern. The quarter is like bearish. It's like shooter. Bears are in control, but on the week it's like, we might hold it right here. We'll have to see. So again, we have to see. Like again, I'm 70% bearish, but these morning stars on the week I will not ignore. And then also, again, you can play it because we do need a little bit of corrective activity. So you had basically 3 red weeks, an indecision week. You can have a relief pop, and then it can continue to go down. Because ultimately, on this weekly, this is a huge shoulder, huge head, huge shoulder. So this could really still pop all the way up here to this 104, and we could stay in the shoulder area before it drops. So again, and then we're below the 200 here. It's doing kind of what I think that SPY and QQQ will do, which is like basing right around there, and then just want to see if it continues to lose it. We do have a gap fill here, so that could go either way. And then we do have a slight gap fill to the upside as well. XLV is tight. It's tight. You see how I've even drawn this thing where we had the double inside, it broke to the upside just barely and came back in. So honestly, I wouldn't touch this. It's really tight, and then it's in this area. Like it's literally just doing this. So you want to see it break out, okay? Now, as tight as you see this is, this little bear flag, it did break to the downside, but it may have possibly found support here if it continues to the downside. You do still have some room to come down, okay? So, but again, this is an area I really wouldn't want to mess with. I would really want to see it lose that 127 and stay down before I decided to mess with healthcare. But healthcare is looking bearish. We are under the 200. So actually, you got a 3, possible 3-2 down. There's no actionable signal here on the weekly though at all. So you would really only be playing the continuation there because it already hit its target on the monthly. So you play the continuation, and then if it broke this 128.15, that, like, so for instance, if you took the 3-2 down in a day, that could possibly trigger this quarter, and you can take it down to that 126. I wonder if Moody's will downgrade our credit rating even though we passed an extension. It went down to the wire, which is irresponsible to me. Yes, I agree about that. We really have to see, like, I can't wait to see how futures open this evening and how we open tomorrow, because yes, we shut down, well, we averted our shutdown, but what is Moody's going to do? I mean, we have so much data this week that if we did shut down, like, all of that data wouldn't have come out, or what came out later. It just, I don't know what would have happened. But I know the last time this happened, well, we shut down, was during Trump's market. So and then we were bullish. These charts aren't really saying to me that they're bullish. They're saying they can be bullish with these morning stars, but for the most part, it's not looking too hot. I honestly would go and say that Moody's is going to downgrade us. I could be wrong though. But okay, so XLP, consumer staples. Beautiful quarter here where there's not an actionable signal for us, because if you were already in that, then you basically got through this chop and you were able to carry it to the downside. So again, no actionable signal. It's bearish. So consumer staples are still bearish. We are way under the 200. Y'all notice on some of these sectors, a lot of these we are back under the 200. So we're kind of in bear market territory for some of these sectors. Just want y'all to know that. And even though we're in bear market territory with SPY and QQQ and not IWM, the Dow, we're hovering in bear market territory because we are hovering around that 200. We lose that 200 and stay under it, the bears are going to take control probably for the rest of the year, like how the bulls had control in the beginning. So XLRE real estate, this was just beautiful outside bar complete. Now interesting to see if this will do a 3-2 down and just lose all of this. This is a humongous head and shoulders on the quarter, and you can see it's kind of in a downtrend. So if this does a 3-2 down, it can definitely come back down to this entire shoulder area. I'm not sure if anybody even plays many real estates, but it's in our sector list. So you can look at it, and you can also see that it broke these bear flags are the truth, y'all. I hope y'all see that. Like when I draw them like that, look at that, and then it breaks right on through. So this broke through. This is not really a morning star, but you kind of got a hammer, but it's red. We are far away from the EMAs, so this could definitely have like a relief pop, or that could have been its relief pop. Just know we're below the 200, so we are bearish. Watch gold. If it jumps up, the DXY may drop a little. Potential bull trap tomorrow and Tuesday setup. Yeah, I actually think that the DXY needs to drop. Let's go to that real quick because I went over this a little bit earlier, but I mean, look at this, y'all. It's gone straight up. It's gone straight up. So and it's hit the top of my broad information. We need to have some correction. So I am looking for the dollar to actually have some correction, at least. I'm not saying it's going to lose all of this, but I'm definitely looking for this to drop. As far as gold, remember we were watching gold for the potential rev strat on the week. Not the rev strat, but the 2 up, 2 down. And then I think it was a rev strat on the 2 week or the monthly. It was something I was looking for a rev strat on. Or maybe it was MG. Or maybe it was 2 weeks ago I was looking at this. All I know is I caught this last week. That's all I want to say. Is I caught this last week, and this was absolutely beautiful. This is when I love gold. Gold sometimes does this type of stuff where it'll clap you. But when you catch these moves, gold can pay so well. So, yes, we will watch it. It's possible that it could jump because it definitely had this right here, relentless selling. And it actually, for the most part, hit a lot of my price targets yesterday. It can still go to the, I'm at the wrong one. I'm on the micros. It could still go here to this 1827. And then maybe even TTL these folks out here, 1809. And it would need to basically 3-2 down there. But if it did, I wanted to do a 3-1-2 up to correct up to these EMAs, it can definitely do that as well. But yeah, gold has been dying. And again, it does still have more room to go if I'm not mistaken. Was it the yearly? It was something I was looking at. It was the year. Now, I don't think that this is going to finish the outside year, but it's close to actually triggering the outside year to 1615. So, was it the monthly? No, it wasn't. I think that was it. So it does still have plenty of room to go down to the downside. But yeah, it definitely could use a relief pop. So watch gold, especially if you do futures like me. China closed this entire week. Seriously? Oh gosh, that's gonna be, yeah, lack of liquidity in the markets. They are number 2 in global economy. I did not know that China's going to be okay, but we have data this entire week though. So with China being closed and all the data we have the feds outside all week. It's going to make for an interesting week. And today's my birthday. I decided that I'm glad that the markets were closed today, because if it had been like tomorrow, I wasn't going to trade anyway, because I wouldn't want to lose no money on my birthday. But this week, I may actually take the week off and see how it does, because China's closed, lots of data, Feds outside. That could be great. That could be my GDXD did good, still holding for the swing. That's what's up. That is what's up. All right, y'all, did we do materials? I think we did materials really quickly. We got a shooter on the week, possible outside, may finish next quarter. The same thing on the week where we have that possible morning star. Happy birthday. It's actually my wife's birthday today as well. Your wife is so dope. I just got to tell you that. She's like the dopest person. She's like really strong, really sweet, a little mean. I'm kidding. But real personable, real giving. Like, I love me. So I know she shares my birthday, then I love her too. And I only know that's the only other female I've ever heard with my birthday. I know at least 3 guys who had my birthday. So yay to her. I actually know somebody who's born yesterday, but not today. So your wife is dope. And thank you, Richard. Remember what I said last week about gold and cat? Not quite, TF. It's been a lot going on, by the way. I do know the cat dropped. It was on my list, my weekly list. Oh, actually it didn't. Ooh. Now remember, I don't know if y'all remember last week we drew this, the bear flag. It like barely TTO'd. I mean, wait, did it even? It did not take these folks out, y'all. You almost got a double bottom here. But either way, it's still making lower highs. Still looking for this 265 on cat. I need to add that back to my list, so I can make sure I continue to watch it. Although I told y'all I'm watching less and less, but where was I? Watching less and less, but I do still like cat where it's at. There's no actionable signal on cat on the quarter, but on the monthly you have an inside month that ended really close to its downside. So at least looking for the gap. For cat, you want to give this probably a couple of weeks for it to play out, because as you can see, it's chopping right here, but you really wanted to lose this. It almost did its double bottom here. You really wanted to lose this, and it can have like way more downside. You can get that gap, and you might even be able to get it down here to this 246 if we're bearish in the market. Thank you for that, for reminding me of that, TF. XOP, oil and gas, looks exactly like XLE, basically, for the most part. No actionable signal on the quarter, but on the monthly, you kind of have an evening star here. So if oil and gas is bearish, then look for this 2 up, 2 down reversal. Okay, this kind of did like what I said Meta did, where you have your flag and it breaks a little bit to the upside, but it comes back in. So if it definitely comes back in and does a 2 down, it may take all of these out and come on down through this flag. So watch your oil and gas for it to possibly do that. All right, and at least come down here and test this 200. XRT retail, not doing a whole lot. Like, this is long wicks and ill. Like, seriously, y'all, the wicks for this one, really 4 out of these 5 wicks are longer than the body. We don't like that. We don't like that at all. That's to me, that's indecision. Like, who is in control here? Nobody, because it's just chopping. Leave it alone. Unless you know how to trade the range, leave it alone. One thing I can say though is that it is below the 200 on the weekly. So we know the bears are in control, but as you can see, it's having strong rips, but then it gives it all up. So again, it's one of those things, if you don't know how to trade the range, leave it alone. Okay. Jets, oh, this was absolutely beautiful. We were watching it most of the week because we said, you know, the summertime, transportation, things like that, most of the year anyway. And then it hit its peak and gave it all up. So it could possibly 3-2 down to continue to the downside. Watch your stocks like BA, like UAL. Those do have actually room to keep falling. Is it the 3? Yeah. So BA could do this 3-2 down, which will probably bring the Jets down. I believe UAL also, same thing. It's not a 3, but it can definitely come on down. So your favorite airlines are possibly in a serious downtrend right now. You look at Jets, we're way below our 200. So we had a nice pop for the summer, and then that was just it. Then it did this right here. I'm going to try to really look at this right here. Okay? Because that's what I've been kind of talking about all day. Understanding when we come to hit the 200, how we act around it before we make our next move. This is what I'm really looking for with SPY and the Qs. Granted, this is not the greatest to trade, but it's a great way to set us up for the nice strong moves that we want, the big green red bars. So that means that you may have to sit out of this and then wait for it to look, and you see, okay, this has rejected the 201 2 3 times, and we're starting to head to the downside. All right, I can go ahead and take this down, and I can use this 8 EMA as a point of resistance. So if I miss this, the next time it comes and tests it, I can get in there. Or it tested, I can get in there. Almost tested, I can get it there. Definitely tested, I can get in there. So hopefully y'all see that. And then you'll see if it bases and turns, and the 8 starts turning up, and then you'll see that it makes a support there. So that's how you can really look for that, to see who's kind of in control. But this is really what I really wanted to point out. Even though it gave us a fake inverted head and shoulders here, it still died because we're under the 200. So watch a lot of these things. They are under the 200 right now. We'll keep that in mind. Lithium and battery, lit. Same thing with Jets, basically. You got this outside quarter where it can just 3-2 down and continue that. No actionable signal here on the month. On the weekly, you kind of have a possible morning star for some upside. So just kind of have to see what these things do. I said that I was going to stop doing SOXL first and do SMH, because I feel like SMH is more guided towards NVIDIA and AMD, but you know, they kind of look similar. Basically on the quarter you have a failed to almost an outside quarter. There's no actionable signal here on the month. The week, these all look the same, y'all. You got your head and shoulders, but you got the bull saved it, and then so we may have a relief pop, but we still have plenty of room to the downside. All of these charts are looking the same to me in that aspect. So really have to see what they do. SMH still has this gap down here, the 129.53, which I'm looking for them to fill. NVIDIA has the same thing. Okay, so that would be something that we would look for. SOXL for the most part filled its gap. No, it didn't. 1626. It tried, and then yeah, so it may still come down and fill that, but we'd have to see. Oh, there's a yawn again. I don't know why I'm so sleepy. I really don't. Alrighty, IYT is the transportation ETF. You have this is a little bit like Jets, but it's not quite. and you have a failed 2-up that you can play the rest of it. So it didn't outside bar completely like Jets, but you do have this possible 2-up, 2-down on the quarter. No actionable signal on the month. On the week, you have a possible morning star. I'm like repeating myself here. All these charts, I'm really doing this though and hoping that y'all can kind of start seeing what I see, and see the similarities on all of these charts. This one is more below its 200, but a lot of these, even though we see that on the week, we saw that these morning stars on the day, you can see a pop and a rejection right here at the 2. So those morning stars may not go into effect. They may just actually continue going down. All right, so what you want to possibly look for is some of these 2-ups, 2-downs to trigger the weekly, which would possibly trigger the monthly. That's like things like that. However, there are not that many monthly setups I'm noticing. I had a few and I have a list, but there's not a whole lot where, you know, we have a rev strat on the month or inside month. A lot of them don't have monthly setup, so I will go through that real quick. Yen, as far as China's not doing a whole lot. It's really not. 4 weeks it's been stuck in this sideways, it's like a sideways downtrend, like literally it's like that. So sideways is like this, but it's like that because it's kind of sort of going down. It's like a slow melt. So I started the year being bullish on China, and then I kind of left it alone. See, after this hammer, I was bullish, and then it came back, and it slowly melted, and over 3 quarters, it didn't really do a whole lot, basically. So, not really watching China, unless it can start to move to the upside or give us something really strong, because otherwise it's still gapping all over the place, and it's not really safe in my opinion. It's one of those things though where if you're skilled enough, you know to short the rip, but just be aware of those gaps. So my advice is, if you're going to play those gaps, give yourself time, because those gaps won't hurt you as much if it gaps in the other direction. All right, let me read some really quickly. TF said max pain on options will direct most plays this week regardless. What do you mean by that? Max pain on options. Look at WBA at 2012 levels. Let's see. Ooh, yikes. Ew. Yeah, WBA is looking, and that's interesting because one of the members in my Discord was telling us to look at WBAs for longs, and this chart is so bearish. It's in a quarterly shoulder. Well, it's about to lose that shoulder area, honestly. It has definitely bounced from here 3 times before. So if they can't save it from here, oh my god, good night. Yeah, that's ugly. I'm not sure what happened to Walgreens, but that is ugly. This is just a horrible downtrend. Like, there's not much relief going there. The bears are definitely in control. This thing hasn't been above this 200. There's a relief pop there, relief pop there, and relief pop there, but that was about it. Jets looks like a short ladder attack. Yep, it definitely does. And BA. Look at that. I'm a little upset I missed that. Because I'll be watching BA all the time, and I watched it, and it did this for so long, and I was just annoyed with it, and I swear, like, right here is when I stopped looking, and then it did that. So I was mad again. And I said, okay, well, I'll wait for it to come down. Then it did this, and I stopped looking, and then it did that. It's the story of my life, y'all. So anyway, let's say if puts are way too heavy, and market makers will work the ticker to make the most money. Yeah, and the charts are looking very bearish and people are super bearish. I can definitely see that. But this is why I'm telling y'all about these morning stars I'm seeing on these charts. Be careful because we can definitely pop because so many people are bearish. And I will bet you almost money that a lot of people are bearish. I need to get rid of these real quick, y'all, because we have a new month starting. We already did our 2-week setups. I believe I looked at the 7 weeks with y'all last week. I'm not quite sure. That may be it though. Double check. Oh, I'm not gonna go through this, y'all, because it's literally 40. But here's a good look at the quarter list that I have, that I made. So these are things that I'll be watching to see what they do this quarter. Then I did my monthly list. One that I really like is INTC. This possible red strat on the month. This PMG, possible PMG on Moderna. I think Moderna would need like good news for that. But yeah, these are my monthly. And then the weekly list. So I was reading the IBD paper, Investors Business Daily, and they were talking about this company called Frontline, saying this is at a good buy point. It's in the cup and handle area. It actually has a lot of room to the upside. So this is something that I will be watching. This is for my shares people. I'm just putting that out there for y'all. Move this down in Kiki because that is Kiki's play. All right, we got shop. So shop, you have this possible morning star on the week, but we also have this. So a lot of these are going to have this, but remember, I'm looking also to see if it does this morning star on the week. So it could do a 2 up, 2 down. It could also reject this 200 here, and we have a shooter. So if it does this 2 up, 2 down on the day, this can trigger the week to the downside. Not to the downside, the quarter to the downside, which is at 50.67. So yeah, the 2 up, 2 down, then trigger the quarter. If you look at it, we're in it's a head, it's a shoulder. So we can definitely still pop to fill this gap, and then come back down, or that could have been our pop and that was it. So watching that. C is the bank one that I am watching. Again, it looks just like shop, where you have this possible morning star. You have a rev strat on the day, so it can pop to the upside. However, you still have this shoulder, head, shoulder, where that may have been the pop. And if it does a 2 up, 2 down, then that can trigger your 3-month, your quarterly. No? Wait a minute. I'd like to see for something else, y'all. But I know I was bearish on it. May have been looking at... Well, it's not triggering the quarter, but this is a head and shoulders, and I liked it. I must have been really tired when I was looking at this yesterday. I still like this C. Kiki gave us crowd. Crowd is looking like it's basing. It's looking like it's doing a bull flag here. And then you have this TTO and recovery on the week, so we can definitely do a 2 down, 2 up. I think it was the monthly now. For the 2 week, we're just looking forward to possibly do this outside week, so we could get up to this 173. And then if not, we do have this evening star on the day. So if crowd decides it's going to be bearish, it's a beautiful evening star where you can 2 up, 2 down, at least come to this gap and possibly come down to these EMAs. So crowd is kind of a either way play. Again, that you can take it to the upside, or it can be Kiki. If Kiki is bringing it to us, she's mostly looking at it on the 4 hour, and she's mostly looking at it as bearish, unless she specifically says bullish. So you have, I'm giving you either way, but if Kiki's bringing it, she's saying bearish. Another thing you can kind of notice here is it hit the top of that. So this could be a bull flag, but This right here could also be a bear flag. Hopefully y'all understand that. So crowd could be an either way play. So watch crowd. I like NVIDIA because of this inside week. NVIDIA is in our shoulder area. Now NVIDIA also gave us a possible shooter here on the quarter. So we can definitely, it's one of those, NVIDIA can give us a one triggers the other. Now on the week, I'm already looking bullish. If we break this 443, we can definitely move up to this 462. Okay, but however, we are at a really strong point of resistance. So this 2 up red could give us a 2 down, which will trigger the weekly possible, which can trigger the monthly. And then 403 would be our quarter trigger to the downside to 280. And y'all, we were just talking about how we at least need to give us some of this gap. There are unfulfilled orders that are sitting here between 306 and 365 that need to be ironed out. And NVIDIA's just sat up here and just sat up here. It's about that time. It can come down to this broadening formation, give us the 200, give us that gap. But I'm looking to see if NVIDIA is going to, that's one of my top watches for this quarter, banks and chips, okay? Because it's not just NVIDIA that has this setup. You'll see it with MU and things like that. Microsoft, again, you have this quarter that we were talking about. And then for the month, you have a possible 3-2 for the week. Why do I have Microsoft as inside? This is supposed to be a star. Sorry, y'all. For the week, we have that possible morning star. So if it does do that 2 down, 2 up, then I'm looking forward to come up to possibly 327, even 330, which would still be the shoulder area on this weekly. But on the daily, we can definitely, we hit this resistance. We might do a 3-2 up, 2 down reversal, and at least come down and test this 200 like we were looking for in the bottom of this broadening formation. Then it could possibly trigger this 3-2 down on the month and trigger the quarter. We really like those one thing triggers the other things. Blow your nose. COP is another one. I like this inside week. That's a shooter. So looking for that to break this 119, come on down to this 116.49. CVS, I believe. Yes, CVS has a kind of morning star on the quarterly. So I'm watching this because CVS has definitely had its downside and it may be ready to recover. That's our sign that we are ready to recover. So we would have our monthly that could trigger our quarterly to the upside. Okay, and as the week is at, why do I have this on my, this should be outside. So this could 3-2 in any direction. It's looking closer to trigger to the downside. But I'm watching this to see if the bulls actually step in. If it can hold above 67.73, it will make an inverted head and shoulders here. And then we may be able to push to the upside. It would really need to break 77.34 and make a higher high for us to say that. Otherwise, it may continue in this downtrend that is in, and I'm not as much interested. I'm more interested if it can go ahead and try to reverse. It's trying to make an inverted head and shoulders here, but yeah. We already did COP, and then we already talked about CAT. So that is all I have. Let me see what you guys have. PayPal Square may be done. Oh my God. Y'all. Okay, I was, ill. I remember we were talking on the pre-market mover show, and I had said that one of my biggest losses ever was Square. Square has the most gigantic head and shoulders on the weekly. It's just sitting in a shoulder area, and it's just losing it. It can actually still come down to this 32. That may actually be where it's headed next. That's insane. I can't believe Square's at $44. And when I lost money, I think it was here, because I had bought them at like 100 something. Yeah, because it was last year. It was early last year, so it was around here. I think I had bought leaps, and it was just going down, and I finally had to cut it because it just was not going my direction. And I mean, look, it never recovered. And even on the quarter, it's breaking this shoulder area and looks like, why is Square dying like that? People still use Square. That's really, really interesting. Oof. And look at PayPal. I still use PayPal. I don't necessarily like them once eBay bought them out, but this is insane. Yeah, I don't see much recovery here either, TF. PayPal is just, yeah, this is really bad. I did not know that these had gotten this bad. I don't really see any type of recovery for it. It's a lot of possible morning stars that we're seeing, but we know that they could be fake outs. But I mean, look at this. It's just completely under the 200. It's dead. It's dead. It may be like AMC 2.0 because, whew, yeah. Palantir looks okay with the new Army. Why is this thing in my way? Army contract awarded. Yeah, I don't really. Oh, well, you got an evening star right there on the day. I honestly think that this may come back into this range because of this evening star. It did a fresh TTO and ended with a shooter on the day. Now, that is the daily. Let's look at the quarters. Nothing there. We have an inside month and green. So I can see where you might like that. The only thing is, I used to like 3-1s. I stopped liking them because essentially this is a mother bar or a supply and demand zone. And those 3-1s are kind of hard unless it does a 3-1-2 and it pushes up, or a 3-1-2 and it pushes past the previous bar and goes. Like, you're essentially caught in a compound bar here. Trying to trade it. So, but it does look like it's almost a hammer here, so it looks like that they may have stepped up. You do have a head and shoulders here. Like, it really just hit the top of that shoulder and that was it. So I would be careful with this. As long as it holds 1375, okay, but it really needs to break over 17. It's almost bull flagging though. Like, this is not really that great. Yeah, I don't even have no lows to do this here. Almost. You know, bull flag is like this. So, almost. Just have to see where it holds. But yeah, another thing I do like is it, from this right here, it boomed and then it's basing. So it may be basing for the next boom, which is the market maker buy model that Shay always talks about. But all right, y'all, I'm gonna go. I think I've been here for over an hour, but we knew that this was gonna be long anyway, so we had a lot to talk about. If y'all have any questions, as always, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna go enjoy my birthday and the rest of my coffee now. So I will see y'all later. Bye, everybody.